I spoke at the start of the year when they played against Liverpool and they lost. It was going to take time. I hate to use that word, project, but when you bring in a lot of new players, didn't have that luxury of doing it last year. You're bringing lots of new players. It's almost like you're a kid in a candy shop. You've got all the players, but where you play them and how they fit in, who's going to find form, players that come from another country, you're hoping they're going to hit the ground running. Havertz and Werner just haven't. They were 2-star signings, they've struggled. So you can't legislate for that. You can't legislate for the way the world is right now. It's incredibly hard for them. There are one or two things that I look at, and this will upset Frank more than anything because he was as hard-working as a player as I've ever seen. There one or two of them are a little bit soft. You never want to be labelled a soft team. You never want to label a team that doesn't run enough, work hard, win individual battles. And that can boil down to confidence. But I look at that team right now, and there's one or two of them are just not just doing enough. And they can't just do enough when you play for Chelsea. This is a team where you're under pressure every single game. They've had a situation there which has been successful for them, where managers come and go, and you can't fault it because they've done so well out of it. But players right now have got to take responsibility. They've got to do more. I look at, I mentioned the fullbacks, Reece James, Ben Chilwell coming in for a lot of money. I want to see a lot more from him. I'm seeing him going through the motions a little bit. I want to see more energy. The midfield, I didn't think had the right balance today, if I'm totally honest. I think Havertz and Kovacic and Mason Mount, it felt like almost that midfield might have been better against Fulham than it was today. But that didn't work. They were out-thought, out-battled. Like Frank said, a better team won. You looked at one team, had a structure and organisation that had been playing together for a while. You looked at Chelsea and it feels like they're getting thrown together a little bit at the moment. And it's hard. You're searching for something as a manager. You want the right recipe. You're hoping that Ziyech will come on and do a bit for you. You give Callum Hudson-Odoi an opportunity today. What did he do? He had one opportunity and he ends up falling over a lack of quality. And these are big opportunities for players. And you asked me the question before, is it a big one for him today? Now, you should never be judged on one game. But the players that he brought in, you're always asking them to do better. And they didn't do enough, a lot of the players that had their chance today. So when they get back to training tomorrow, they can't really moan too much or knock on the door when they get left out next week. They've got to do more, Kelly.
But if you put that one game into context, and, the 5 defeats in 8, they've got, after the FA Cup weekend, they've got Wolves and Burnley before they take on Tottenham, which is always a tough challenge. It's always a tough match. Do you feel there is pressure mounting at Chelsea, and for the reasons that you've stated, which are that they are a club that makes quick decisions?
There's always pressure. Frank knows that. Frank's lived under pressure all his life as a player. He's always put himself under duress, and he knew go into a club like this, if you are going to have a bad run, and because he's Frank Lampard, a legend at the club, it doesn't mean anything. But what I think that they'd be mad to do is not give someone time. When you bring in all new players, you have to give them time. You can't just have knee-jerk reactions. Things aren't good right now. They're not. You can't deny it. That performance is not good enough. There's been a lot of performances that haven't been good enough. But they will improve. They will get better given time, because someone will get the best out of this squad. But I think that Frank, because of his knowledge of the game, because of how he sees it, he'll get it right. But it's going to take a bit of time. There's a lot of things that I didn't like about that Chelsea side so far this season. And Frank will be, I think I said this to you Saturday night, as a manager, you get your tactics board and you're trying to fit players in and think of a system and think of how you're going to play. That back four, really, if you look at it, Kelly's got so much experience, so much quality, they shouldn't be conceding the goals that they are. And they certainly need... Kante's had a lot of wars in games. He's not quite the player that he was. So there are problems that need to be solved.